Good evening. What is up, Razorback Nation? Welcome into episode 50 of the Hawgs on the Hill podcast, your go-to podcast for in-depth dive into all things Arkansas Razorbacks. We're brought to you by Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand bringing some serious style to the golf course, the tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride, founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family. Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. Go check them out for all your Arkansas hats, polos, golfing needs. They've got it all. You can be the best looking at the tailgate golf course, like it says, anywhere you go. Hobbs is showing off one of the hats on his head right now. He comes in red, black, and white. So you got options there. So go check them out today. Fantastic stuff there. And man, this we're gonna be talking a little bit of softball today, a little bit of baseball, and some quick football updates. But Arkansas softball is in the SEC tournament down in Athens, and man, they are having some movie and storybook type games over these past few games. They are finding themselves sitting right in the semifinals against who else? None other than Oklahoma tomorrow. Team that swept them. We talked about it. This team has been red hot since they got swept back, midway through the season, and they get a nice rematch due up tomorrow afternoon. So, but before we get into that, man, these past two games for Arkansas, game one, they played the winner of Georgia-Kentucky, which was Georgia, beats Georgia 5-1 in a game. If you haven't seen the highlights yet, Bri Ellis. That's all I got to say for that one is she cemented herself easily for National Player of the Year. No doubts about it. I mean, if you just look at the game and what she did, Arkansas, it was a tied game in the seventh. And she steps up to the plate, bases loaded. They'd already walked her twice this game and hit her once with a pitch. So didn't even get a chance to swing in this entire game. In the seventh inning, she comes up with bases loaded. First pitch she gets to hit, grand slam over the wall. You couldn't have drew it up better than that. No place to put her. You get Bri Ellis up to the plate. You got to pitch to her, or you're walking and running, more than likely losing anyway. So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a great situation for Georgia, but man, what a fun game that was.
Yeah, man, I think she was probably in the top 10 in Twitter X trending. I mean, everybody was talking about it. And she did it in the home team's field in front of their fans and just broke their hearts. It was just it was great to see. It's amazing that we have probably the best players in the country. Like, when I say that, I mean, we may have two players win Player of the Year in baseball and softball. I mean, how crazy would that be? I don't know how she couldn't win it. If there's anybody out there that's even close to her, I would be shocked. Excuse me, shocked. So maybe that pitcher that got drafted ahead of her, I don't know, but I don't know. It's crazy. She's just she's a different breed, and I hope that our career here leads to a Oklahoma City, because this team seems like that's the direction they're going. I can't wait. I got a chance to watch a little bit of the game today because I was off, and I just love this team, the way that they play, the fire they have, and it reminds me a lot of our baseball team. I hate that I keep comparing them to them, but it's what I know best. But they both have a lot of fire, and I could really see them going a long way. So, yeah. But Bri Ellis, you can't, like you talked about, they had nowhere to put her. So she's just waiting on the pitch to get grooved to her, and the moment she got it, it reminds me a lot of, like we talked about, Barry Bonds. I was a lot younger watching him play, and I'm not talking about steroids. I mean, yeah, but I'm talking about just watching the guy play. He didn't get a lot of pitches to hit, but when he got them, see you later.
Yeah, 100%. It was crazy to me looking at it. Before that at bat, she was hitting 487 on the season, which is insane to begin with. And that pushed her into the spot of becoming Arkansas's all-time leading home run hitter and all-time RBI leader with that hit. So if you look at as of after today's game, the updated stats for the season for her, she's hitting 492 with 61 runs scored, 58 hits, 9 doubles, 26 home runs, 72 RBIs, and a slugging percentage of 1.229.
26 hits. Wait, 26 home runs and 58 hits.
Yep.
That's incredible. Just incredible. Just imagine what the numbers would be if they didn't walk her so much.
Exactly. I mean, how many times do you think she's been walked this season?
Oh, God. How many games did they play?
51.
I'm going to say times 3 that. So what's that, 150?
Not that much. So she's been walked 58 times. So at least once a game.
Once a game, over 1 times a game.
She's been hit by a pitch 10 times.
Okay.
She's only struck out 13 times. So it's just insane the season she's having. And I don't think, like, looking at the numbers, what she's done and the opportunities, I just don't see how you can't name her National Player of the Year. Yeah, the pitcher at Oklahoma is great, but just from a standpoint of putting this season all together and being heartbeat of this team and helping carry this team through a lot of these situations, it's just insane. And I can't wait to see what they do the rest of the season. Like we said, they're going to be taking on Oklahoma tomorrow at 4:00 in the semis. They'll be playing the winner of Texas versus most likely Texas A&M. But you look at some of the other players in this game. So in the circle pitching for Arkansas, Peyton Burnham, 4 innings, 5 hits allowed, 1 run, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk on 62 pitches. Robin Herron comes in to close things out, pitches the final 3 innings of this game, allows 1 hit, 3 strikeouts on 32 pitches. Offensively, we talked about it, she was walked twice in this game, hit by a pitch once, but Reagan Johnson goes 1 of 4 with a run scored. Reagan Kramer 0 of 2 with a run scored. Ella McDowell hitless in this game. You have Courtney Day go 1 for 2 with a run scored and RBI, also walked. Kennedy Miller 2 for 3 in this game. So you have a lot of players helping her and stepping up that got to that bases loaded situation. That's the one thing you got to look at. Yeah, fantastic job by Bri Ellis to step up and make that pitcher pay for the pitch. But hats off to those girls in front of her, because without them, those bases aren't loaded for Arkansas to for her to put up those stats like that. So it's insane. It's like Transplant Texan said here. That strikeout stat for Bri is just impressive as her home run stat. She is effective when she steps to the plate. Exactly. She doesn't swing at junk. She's a smart hitter, and she takes advantage of little mistakes that these pitchers makes, and she makes them pay. And so, fantastic to see them get that win there. And then you jump over to today's game, which had another dramatic ending. Arkansas wins this one 6-1 over on another walk-off, but not Bri Ellis this time. Reagan Kramer for Arkansas, 2 for 4 today with 2 runs scored and 4 RBIs. Just as capable of a hitter. She hits 311. So, still, if you look up and down this Arkansas lineup, it's insane the hitting statistics that these girls have. But, she gets her moment. Bri Ellis had hers yesterday. She gets her moment in this one. Robin Herron started the game for the Hawgs today. 7 innings for her, 6 hits allowed, 1 run, 9 strikeouts on 90 pitches. Has sitting at a 2.20 ERA. Offensively, 2 for 4 for Reagan Johnson with a run scored. Reagan Kramer, like we said, had the big grand slam in the 7th inning of the game. Bri Ellis 2 for 4 today with a run scored. Carly Davis 1 for 3 with a run scored. So Courtney Day goes 0 for 2 and was walked twice. So she didn't even get to swing. And not to mention, this was a tough Tennessee team that Arkansas had already seen this year. Took the series from them. And at one point, Tennessee's pitcher was throwing a no-hitter.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't last too long. But so these girls are doing this against some of the best talent in softball as well.
Yeah, that Tennessee pitcher looked unhittable there to start the game. I was like, daggone, this pitcher's mowing us now. But I mean, wasn't that her second home run of the year? And it's a walk-off grand slam. I mean, that's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's
2 home runs for her on the season.
That's insane. Somebody that hasn't really gotten a lot of home runs, and then they come up big in a spot like that. That's postseason. That's postseason play for you. So that's huge, and it's good to see that because these girls are going to need more than just Bri Ellis hitting at the plate to go far and possibly compete for a championship.
Especially because when all these teams are going to continue to try to pitch around her, whether that means walking her or whatnot. It's just Arkansas has to make sure to make these do a good enough job to put these in the team in the situation where they can't afford to walk her, such as a bases loaded situation or a situation where, it's a crunch time game and you don't really want to give an Arkansas base runner by just, walking her. You force them to pitch to you, and then that way you can continue to do the things that you've been doing on the season. Like if you look at our starting lineup, your batting averages are 492, 367, 356, 327, 325, 305, and then towards the bottom, 293, 246, and 226.
Yeah.
But especially 1 through 6, like what are you going to do? Like you can't really afford to there's not really any good person to pitch around. I mean, obviously Bri Ellis if I'm another team looking at it, but you still got 5 other hitters that are hitting in the 300s that can easily put the ball in play as well.
No, it just reminds you of the baseball team. I mean, exact same problem. Just like Davalon gets on base, and then you got to pitch to Wahiva. And if you walk Wahiva, guess who's behind him? The little brother. That's right. Not so little. So,
yeah, and like you said, we keep comparing it to baseball, but I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it just shows, Dave's built an incredible program, and so is Courtney Deifel. I mean, it's just mirroring each other essentially, and to have both, baseball and softball doing really well. Not many programs have that. You're either, look at Oklahoma. Softball is Oklahoma softball. Everybody knows about Oklahoma softball. Baseball is hit or miss. They have some good years, but are they consistently, always in the top, 15 every year consistently throughout the season? No.
Nope.
You look at other baseball programs, is there the only maybe comparable one right this year in the SEC is Texas.
Yeah, Tennessee maybe.
But from a consistency basis of year in and year out, this baseball program's a machine. Dave's got the program running, and softball is in that direction now, especially with what Coach Deifel's done with recruiting. But softball is a little bit different. You got to consider because they don't necessarily have like as big of a draft like baseball has before the season. So you have the chance to lose some good players that are coming in, things like that. They have the Athletes Unlimited softball that's starting and growing. But, you have more returning players and more top talent that is actually making it to campus. And what Courtney Deifel's done in recruiting has been nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future. I think that, it's really goes up from here. I mean, they're really playing well this year. They're looking at a national seed this year. So you're going to host in Fayetteville all the way through. I mean, you got a chance. When's the regionals? Next weekend?
Yes.
So you'll have a regional in Fayetteville, and then across town you'll have a huge series in the baseball field. So just the people that are there that are going to be out there, and I've already looked at the weather. It looks pretty promising. So, I mean, just sets up for a very exciting weekend next weekend. So you can pick your choice of which one you want to go to at this point. And so yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, so you have the selection show on Sunday, and then regionals will get started that following weekend. And like you said, Arkansas will be hosting for that. So I'm excited to see what this team does. They've tried to make runs the past few years, hasn't necessarily went their way, but I think it was 2 years ago now they made it to Supers and ended up having to play Texas in Supers and got knocked out. And then last year, unfortunately, didn't make it out of a regional. But this team is starting to make themselves known. And with this roster, this lineup, what we've talked about, it's hard to not see a path for them to be headed to Oklahoma City.
Yeah. It's all about, I'm sure it's the same way in softball. It's all about the draw, who you get. So hopefully we get some good matchups and keep the train rolling and playing at home. It doesn't get any better than that.
Agreed 100% there. So, softball be back in action tomorrow. So get ready for that. Arkansas baseball will hopefully be playing tomorrow. Weather for this weekend down in Baton Rouge is not fantastic, but I mean, when you're talking Arkansas baseball, these last few series, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, this is how it's been with this weather, not in being in Arkansas's favor as far as just having to play a lot of doubleheaders this season. And right now could be potentially trending that way. Hopefully not. Hopefully it stays good enough to get a game in tomorrow. But Arkansas is headed on their final road trip of the regular season as they're heading down to Baton Rouge to the box to take on the number 4 LSU Tigers. They're 38-11 on the season, 15-9 in conference play. They lost the series last weekend at A&M on the road, but unfortunately, the stats you don't want to hear is they're 10-2 at home in league play this year. So they've been tough to beat down in Baton Rouge this year. But after this past weekend for Arkansas, you got to be feeling good going into that confidence going into this series. And I mean, it all starts with Zach Root. Can he have a very similar outing to what he did against Texas on the road? He's 6-3 this season, 3.95 ERA. So we all know the 8 scoreless innings he threw last week. Can he come out and deliver a very comparable performance?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll pitch well. It's the Baton Rouge is always a hard place to play in any sport, football, baseball, basketball, not so much, but it's the baseball. That's one of the top places to play in the country. So it's excuse me, it's not a place that we do well in. It's not a place that anybody does well in. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I know everybody's confidence is sky high after what we did to Texas last weekend, but I just hope that people don't lose confidence in this team again if they do lose a series, because it's not the end of the world, and it's not as big of a series as people think it is. In my eyes, I'm looking at, can we stay consistently hitting, keep good swings at the plate, still continue to pitch well, and stay more, what I'm trying to say, injury free, get guys healthy again. Because really at this point in the season, my eyes are on the regional. Only 6 conference games left, and we've really solidified ourselves as one of the top dogs. So we still got work to do to be a national seed. So these games are important in that aspect. But I think if we go 3-3, which means if we lose this series and then win the next, we're a national seed. That's 20 conference wins. You're top 8 with that.
Right. And, you see a lot of projections, too, that still has Arkansas, a top national seed, rightfully so, because, even though through that, tough little stretch we had, you still know what you're getting out of the Hogs. And hopefully, they had that little slump, like we said, before the Texas game. And now, they're getting right and ready to go and kind of reset themselves a little bit. I think it all culminated. You look at it, we had the canceled midweek game. Dave talked about how he set the team down. They sat down and talked. Kind of just, I feel like mentally reset themselves. Got a break, got to rest up. Guys are getting healthy in some sense in terms of, look at Gage Wood. He's getting, pretty much to where he's going to be without a pitch count for the most part. Hopefully Parker Coyle's back sooner than later.
He's back.
Do what?
He's back.
So there you go. You're getting an additional arm out of the bullpen. You avoided potentially, serious injury with Carson Wiggins. Probably won't see him the rest of the season more than likely, but it's good to hear that, nothing super serious like having to have Tommy John or anything like that. So going into this weekend against LSU, they are a tough team. Fourth in the SEC, 23rd nationally with 404 runs. Second in the conference with a 305 batting average. And, of course, who are they second to? Yours truly.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Exactly. So their biggest guys you got to watch out for. Derek Curiel, their center fielder, is in the running for SEC Freshman of the Year. He's hitting 361, has the highest batting average on the team. Offensively, he's doing great. But another guy you want to watch out for is their first baseman, Jared Jones, who leads LSU with 16 home runs on the season, 60 RBIs, 52 runs scored. And no other LSU Tigers reached double-digit home runs this year. So two guys that kind of in that lineup you're going to need to watch for and be able to pitch to real well, those two guys. But I'll be interested to see more of what the battle's going to look like on the mound because LSU almost has a pitching staff as deep as Arkansas this season.
They can pitch. They're really good. They always have a lot of talent. Unfortunately, that's LSU. They bring in people like crazy. And they can hit too. Obviously, they're second in the league in batting average. And Jared Jones he looks very scary at the plate. He's a mammoth. But we actually pitched him pretty good last year here in Fayetteville. So hopefully we can pitch him just as good as we did last year. But we'll see. He's playing really well. And then their freshman, he's probably going to be a first-round pick, maybe a top 5 pick in a couple of years when he's eligible to be drafted. That kid's ridiculous, so he's only going to get better. But, yeah, they're good. And then on our side with Parker Cole coming back, that's big time because we need another lefty arm in the bullpen. And what's his ERA, like 0.6? So, you can't – that's not going to hurt you at all getting him back. So, and then as far as I know, Hunter Dietz is available. So they're kind of just wondering how they're going to bring him in because it's all SEC games from here on out. So they're kind of just wondering, what situation we'll bring in. I know Dave Van Horn talked about, do we bring him in with a guy on second with a lefty up, for one batter? He said, I don't know, but we'll find a way to get him in. So expect to see Hunter Dietz soon. I don't know if it'll be this weekend or next, but I'm excited to see that kid pitch because that kid's had a lot of unluck in his career. I've never seen anything like it, but hopefully it's all up from here.
Yeah, a lot of uphill battles for him, but yeah, and to your point, looking at Parker Cole before he had that injury and had to miss some time, he was 2-0 on the season with a 0.6 ERA.
Yeah.
With 15 strikeouts to 2 walks on the season.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about how he improved so much over the offseason and just was that one guy that you always see on the Arkansas staff that just makes a huge jump. every year, and he was the guy this year. So it sucks to lose him a lot of the season that we did. But, if we got him back now and we're here in this part of the season, I don't care. It's kind of like what I talk about Gage Wood. I don't care if he missed this amount of time. If he's back doing what he's doing now, that's all I care about. So
exactly, 100%. Yeah, it sucks to have him miss them during the season at some point, but you get them back and healthy and ready to go towards the end of the season. That's what you want. Angel jumping in here saying softballs and hard bats, girls are dominating 100%. So we just kind of finished up talking about is how this run hasn't been short of incredible for these softball girls, and it's not over yet. And they've got a perfect opportunity for writing some more of that story with a payback game tomorrow afternoon versus Oklahoma. But back to baseball, like you said, yeah, Parker Coyle, another lefty out of the bullpen, is going to be tremendous. Would love to see another phenomenal performance from Zach Root, building off last week. I mean, we haven't necessarily seen terrible performances from him, but when he's on his A game, you saw what he can do last weekend, and it's going to be fun to watch. Like we're saying with this team, looking at the pitchers for LSU, their two main 1-2 punches, kind of like we talked about. We have, you got Cade Anderson for them. He's 6-1 on the season with a 3.57 ERA, and Anthony Evanson 7-2 on the season with a 3.16 ERA. They got two big relievers with Kason Evans with a 1.24 ERA with 6 saves, and Zach Cowan with a 1.99 ERA.
Yeah, they can pitch, which is why they're probably gonna. They're one of the favorites to go to Omaha by a lot of experts. So they can pitch, and all it takes is a little hitting if you can pitch that good. So the lineup's in for a tough task, but this is a lineup very capable of hitting good pitching as we saw last weekend. But the weather's going to play a factor this weekend, regardless of how good these teams are. We saw it in the A&M series. Probably going to see it again this weekend. We'll see who it favors. So I've never been a big thinker of waiting around as the home team always favors you, because you're at home and you want to play. On the road, it's like you ain't got nowhere else to be anyway. So
right.
It's just it's going to be interesting to see how this weekend plays out. But I know we're talking about their pitchers, but did you see where like I stated, like we talked about this in the last show, that Gackle may be the game 3 starter again.
Yeah, I mean that one's another one up in the air. They even asked Dave about it after the game last weekend, talking about hey, you said TBD, end up deciding to go with bottle cheese, and it's like Dave said, he hasn't necessarily been pitching just bad, but he's just not been able to give you the length that you want. And that's what Dave said. His kind of response was, yeah, you've got Root and Wood on Friday, Saturday, and we may just, what Dave says, we may just have to script it out for that last game. Saying you're getting 2 innings, you're getting 2 innings, you're getting an inning, and then if a guy's kind of in the zone and in a groove, be like, all right, you can get another one. But that's what you're gonna have to do, especially if your game 3 situation with bottle cheese is, maybe he needs a little bit of reset. Like Hobbs said, maybe we see Gackle get another opportunity, but it'll be interesting to see what happens down in Baton Rouge this weekend. Hopefully weather holds off for a little bit, but and maybe that's what bottle cheese needs, is a little bit of reset. He's been a game 3 starter all season long, looked good at the beginning of the season, kind of started to tail off a little bit. So maybe he needs a little bit of break from starting rotation and kind of a mental reset for himself too.
Yeah, the last time he wasn't in the rotation was down in Texas. And that was the weekend Gage Wood got hurt. So he was thrown back into the rotation after that. So, but yeah, that was but and like you said, biggest thing right now to think about is regionals and super regionals. What's the main success to win in those, win the first 2 games. Obviously, if you win the first 2 games in the Super, you're going to Omaha. But in a regional, if you win the first 2, then you're sitting in this catbird seat. You just got to win 1 more. You're heading out before you lose 2. But if you lose the first or second game, you got to win like 3 or 4 games in a row.
Uphill battle.
Days. It's tough. So the biggest thing is the way that our 2 first pitchers are pitching. We can beat anybody in those first 2 games. The main thing is, what are we doing for game 3? So my thing is, like, we got to win those first 2 games. Unless we can figure something out in the next 2 weekends for our third guy, we've got to win the first 2 games when we get to a regional.
100%. Especially because if you think about it, the way we've seen Arkansas seasons go with those games 1 and 2, if everything's going like you want it to, the script for Arkansas pitching this year's been game 1, Root, and then, if all possible, Jimenez closes it out. Game 2, you get Wood, and then you get Gackle, and maybe a guy like Fouch to close out. So you're using 2, maybe 3 pitchers addition between, games 1 and 2 other than your starter. So you have a deep, fresh bullpen for game 3, if that's the case. But then if you're shifting Gackle, then, what's that look like? Does Bottle Cheese come in and kind of close in game 2 type situation? It'll be interesting to see what Dave does. But, from the script we've seen, it's been Root, Jimenez, Wood, Gackle, and then maybe a Fouch or somebody like that. So,
yeah, it's huge because, you get Root. If you get Root to pitch 7 or 8 innings, and then you finish the game with like a guy like McIntyre or something, you don't burn guys. And then the next game you go with Wood and Gackle, possibly Jimenez. You're saving your arms a little bit. So if we win those first 2 games, game 3 is looking at, you have room for error. And then possibly game 4, you may have a Zach Root come in that pitched 3 days ago and possibly get you to the Super. So it's like I mentioned before, it's harder to win a regional than it is a Super regional, because you've got to stretch your pitchers out more than you do on a regular weekend.
Right. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a battle down in at Baton Rouge. 2 very teams that are almost like very similar teams to each other. Really great pitching staffs. Got guys that can hit. I feel like maybe 1 through 9, we've got the slight edge on LSU just from a standpoint of, they have their 2 guys that we talked about. But you look at our lineup, it doesn't get easy. You've got great leadoff from Charles Davalon. You've got guys that can easily make you pay with the Eloy brothers. Even look at JT at the bottom of your lineup. That how many balls did he almost hit out of that park on last weekend?
Yeah.
Too many that should have been over the wall. So the bottom of the lineup doesn't get any easier for Arkansas. So I get you the slight edge. So, I don't think we have another sweep this weekend. I'd love that. But, I feel confident that we can go down and come out with a series. But to Hobbs' point, we finished this last 2 series. You go 3-3, winning one of the series. You're setting yourself up for postseason.
Yeah, I know D1 baseball keeps talking about series this, series that. Dave Van Horn talks about this a lot, and it's not about the series; it's about every game. Every game counts the same. So when the committee's at their table in a couple of weeks on Selection Monday, and they're looking at who do we put seeding wise where, they're not looking at this team won that series, this team won how many conference wins? How many conference wins did they have?
Right.
So they look at that more than they do anything. They look at RPI the most. And so from my perspective, it's not about series at this point. It's about we need at least 2 or 3 more wins to get our conference win total at 19 and 20. And we're looking pretty at that point.
Yeah.
Now, if Texas plays Florida this weekend and they struggle and we win a game or 2 and Texas loses a series and we get up in that race for that SEC standings, I'm going to think a little bit differently at that point. But
right. When you're talking about a potential regular season championship.
Yeah, exactly.
So But speaking of D1 baseball, their latest projections as of 2 days ago has Arkansas as the number 2 overall national seed. Don't necessarily love who their projection. Again, these are projections, and it's like people talked about. They seem to try to make regionals too regional by putting a lot of teams from the surrounding area in there. They have Dallas Baptist as your number 2 seed, Kansas as your 3 seed, and Missouri State as your 4 seed.
Yeah, I posted that on X a few days ago and got a crazy amount of comments, and almost everybody is commenting like, I hate this regional. Dallas Baptist is so good. We don't want to see them, which they're right. Dallas Baptist is a good mid-major team. They're probably one of the best in the country. And they're actually in the talks of maybe hosting. So I don't know why they would send that to the number 2 seed. But you're right. The regionals, they've been doing it this way for 26 years now, where it's all about graphic of like where teams are located. So we get the same teams every year, it seems like. And Kansas is one of the best home run hitting teams in the country. And we see how the ball flies in regionals here in the past couple of years. I don't want to see a team like that in our regional that can just hit the ball like crazy. And then we all know how our games go with Missouri State. So,
till 3 a.m.
But I just want to give the fans, 3 a.m. Just want to give the fans a little bit of comfort here and peace of mind. This is not the same team as the last 2 years. As long as we can stay healthy the next couple weekends and get healthy with Maxwell and Frazier, this is not the same team. This team can score with anybody in the country. They got some pitchers that can pitch. Hopefully we have all of our pitchers on and we don't have to fight from behind or keep up with folks hitting home runs. But yeah, this team can hit the ball with anybody. So it's not the same team as we've seen now. We can't afford to give up 20 runs in a game like we did TCU. So we do have to pitch better. We've given up 68 runs in the past 7 postseason games. So we've got to pitch a little bit better in the regionals. But I'm not worried about this team when it comes to scoring this year in the postseason. But yeah, and then you talk about who they were matched up in this on the opposite side. The super regional, which I know I've said this before, I'm not worried about super regional matchup. I just want to get to a regional first. But that super regional matchup, that looks easier than the regional. So yeah, but that's how they do it. This is how they always do it. Any West Coast team is going to go play a West Coast team if they're hosting. Unfortunately, this is how they do it, and it shouldn't be done this way, especially when we're in 2025, especially when you have California and Stanford playing in the ACC, traveling across the country every weekend. Yeah, we need to get it a little bit better because this team deserves an easier regional than what's projected. And then I saw Baseball America's got Miami projected to come to us. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, I understand it from the perspective of you put teams from similar regions together. Yeah, you're probably going to have a lot more fan turnout. Travel's easier, but that's not what it's all about. I mean, when you've seen Missouri State, teams like Missouri State, SEMO, Dallas Baptist, go to places that they've been before or similar places. I mean, like at what point is that enjoyable to watch? And to your point, with the success Arkansas has had, why do you put them in a insanely tough region? To your point, looking at Baseball America, they have Arkansas as a 4 seed national, where D1 baseball has us as 2. And yeah, you're right. It has Miami as the 2 seed, still Kansas coming here as the 3 seed, and George Mason out of the A10 as your 4 seed.
I'd much rather have George Mason than Missouri State. George Mason would get their break speed off of them. George Mason doesn't belong in Fayetteville. Sorry to disrespect George Mason like that, but they wouldn't stand a chance against Arkansas in baseball. So, but But yeah, the 2 and 3 seeds, I never really worry about too much about them because they're going to beat each other anyway. It's and honestly, we're due for a bad matchup because we got an easy one last year and just didn't take advantage of it. So it's unfortunate the way last year was, but we're due for one, and this is what's probably going to happen. We're probably going to get a good mid-major team and a Big 12 team like Kansas, and then we'll see. Hopefully they give us George Mason, so we can just run roll the first game and save some pitching. That would be really nice.
Yeah. 24/7 Sports follows suit with D1 baseball and has Arkansas, Dallas Baptist, Kansas, and Missouri State in the regional as well.
Jesus. Well, here we go. We still got a lot of baseball to be played, so
that is true. But Austin, unfortunately, not able to join us tonight, but he's here in the comment section with us. Said Dallas Baptist is a 2 seat that's crazy, 100%. They probably deserve to host. He said if Arkansas and Dallas Baptist get in a shootout, I'm still taking the Hogs. To your point, with the way this team has been built offensively, I'll take us to hit with anybody. And then, he said, I feel like the 1 and 2 seeds should be exactly as they're seeded, and then the 3rd and 4th seeds should be regional.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is the one thing that I give Austin credit for about thinking March Madness is better than the baseball regionals is they do mess up when they keep doing the regionals the way region wise. But he's right. Maybe 3 and 4 seeds should just be, like region, and then the 2 seed should have to go. My thing is, if you weren't good enough to host and you end up being a 2, you should be going anywhere. And most of those 2 seeds are teams that can afford to travel.
Yeah.
It's not some small school that you're sending across the country. We're talking about schools like Florida, Texas A&M, teams in our conference. Like think about teams like Auburn and Alabama that may not end up hosting in Oklahoma that nobody wants to see. And, so yeah, it's but I agree. Like send Auburn to Oregon State. I mean, that would be Oregon State would be pissed. So
yeah. Austin comes back and says that's because it's better. Hobbs talking.
I don't know, man. Austin, you need to turn on a squeeze play. What's that? 3 Fridays from now, you need to turn it on, and you'll see how good this tournament is, because you'll get a chance to watch everything happen unfold, and it's exciting, man. And this is I took off for it. This is my favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
Now it sucks when Arkansas doesn't win, but it's still fun to watch it.
True. So Arkansas heads to Baton Rouge this weekend for the final road series of the regular season to take on LSU. Arkansas softball taking on Oklahoma in a rematch tomorrow. Going to be fun things. A little bit of football news for you, kind of wrapping up the last of the spring portal recruits. Arkansas did get a commitment from redshirt freshman out of Florida State, Jalen Brown. He committed to Arkansas Sunday night following an official visit. He's 6'1", 174, out of Miami. He began his career at LSU, transferred to Florida State after the 2023-24 season. He appeared in 3 games for the Tigers. He played 9 games for Florida State with 2 starts. He caught 8 passes for 75 yards and also returned the kickoff. He was rated as number 80 overall prospect in class of 2023. So he's a guy that's got some talent coming to Arkansas with a very deep wide receiver room, and with Bobby Petrino offenses, if you remember him back his offenses back in the day, very loaded with wide receivers. So, we're getting to look at 10, 11, 12 deep at wide receiver right now with all the guys that we brought in and we're here, things of that nature. So, another guy coming into this room to vie for a spot and some playing time.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to have depth. So, especially with the receivers that we lost in the draft and the transfers. So it doesn't hurt to have depth coming in, and I know the best guys are going to play, and I'm not worried one bit about Bob Petrino's offense and his decision making. So hopefully this kid gets some playing time. It reminds me of the old days where Kobe Hamilton was a really good receiver, but didn't get really a chance to play until maybe his junior year, and then he got in there and just went off. So, but yeah, so anytime you can get another weapon, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, 100%. As they say, the cream will rise to the top by the time you see who's playing. We get through fall camp and things like that. So,
Dave Van Horn said that.
Yeah,
it
applies here too. So, just looking at it quickly. So, transfers out of Arkansas. A quick hit here on how guys that left where they're headed. Gordon, of course, we know Madam Amaliava is headed to UCLA. Shamar Easter, a guy that I was surprised to see transfer out, big recruit coming in from in-state, is headed to North Carolina to play for Bill Belichick. Originally committed to Arkansas and was a tight end, moved over to wide receiver for the bowl game. Didn't necessarily see a ton of action. His total career stats at Arkansas: 2 games played with 1 reception for 16 yards. Running back Tyrell Reed is headed to Louisiana Monroe. Offensive lineman Missouri Madison is headed to Arkansas State. Defensive back Christian Ford is headed to Missouri State. That we have some guys that are entered the portal and are uncommitted. Quentin Murphy, he's a defensive back. Juju Pope, a running back / linebacker. Blake Boda, quarterback. He transferred in from Coastal Carolina. So, run through of that. Transplant Texan said here, talking about Jaylen Brown, why would Sam and staff sign a player like Jaylen Brown that is allegedly on bond for felony possession of controlled substance and not defend Armstrong against baseless character flag accusations?
I don't know. I mean, since Sam, I haven't seen Sam. That doesn't really, Sam doesn't seem like the type of guy that just gets out and says anything unless he has to. So I don't think it's a situation where he doesn't, he's not defending Armstrong. He just probably hasn't said anything publicly about it. So, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not gonna, I'm not one of those that questions Sam Pittman like everybody else does. It's, I give this football program a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I don't understand the let's see, what am I trying to say? The why people are mad at the football program when they just beat the crap out of somebody in a bowl game and won 7 games with one of the hardest schedules in the country, pretty much beat everybody they were supposed to, plus some. Upset Tennessee when they came here, didn't lose a game they weren't supposed to. And we're going into another season where we're playing one of the hardest schedules in the country. So I don't know what people expect out of this football program, but they did what they were supposed to last year and then some.
Didn't you hear Hobbs are supposed to be winning national titles?
When have we won a national title in anything since 1994? Like
track?
Just be track, but I'm talking about a major sport, but like the major sport everybody talks about. But yeah, fair. It's I don't. Yeah, but you had your chance to be mad when the thing happened to Bob Petrino back in the day. Whenever we were really competing at that point, that was probably the high point of Arkansas football was whenever we were playing Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. That right there is the high point. And then obviously, he couldn't control himself. So that led to the downfall. So, yeah.
As far as with everything would bring Jaylen Brown aboard, I haven't had any reason to not trust this coaching staff when it comes to players. I feel like they brought him in. They would have had to vet the situation. I feel like they wouldn't have brought on somebody that would be a detriment to the program or bring bad publicity. Not 100% sure there, but Transplant Texans said can't win a national title when the Board of Trustees is giving a positive return on investment with a 6-6 and Liberty Bowl bid team until the ROI is in the negative. Change in the football program will not happen.
I mean, you cannot also win a national championship when you're firing a coach every time he wins a ball game or talking about firing somebody. So we are not Alabama. We're not Florida. We don't have the resources those programs have when it comes to football. We are more basketball heavy, baseball heavy program. It is what it is. Now we can beat anybody on any given day in football, but we are not a national championship contender, nor have we been pretty much in my lifetime. So I don't understand where people just make their day miserable talking about we need to do this and that. Like, just it is what it is. Like, it's just never going to be that way unless something changes. As far as it's going to take a once in a generational player or a coach to change that. It's not going to happen overnight. Things are going to it's going to take a Bri Ellis to change the program. This just like it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, you're going to need that talent and honestly the right combination. But this will be fun. You make sure to tune in on Sunday. Austin said, I've got an opinion on this, but it's too much to do over text. Make sure y'all tune in on Sunday. So get ready for a soapbox rant from Austin on Sunday over this Arkansas football program. But Transplant Texans said can't get good coaches when the AD renegotiates with a first-time head coach after only 2 decent seasons. Winstead head coach said this was his last stop. Too many contract extensions have led to too many buyouts. And in Transplant Texas said Austin, he looks forward to
it. Yeah, I look forward to it too. I can't wait to hear this. But it's one of them things where we play the hardest schedule in the country almost every year. It is what it is. We have 3 and 4 stars throughout the roster. Well, I don't know why people think we're going to beat a bunch of 5 stars all the time.
Fair. Pigpen says, fashionably late. Glad to have you here. Better late than never at all. Austin said, guys, you're both beautiful. No need to argue. Appreciate it, Austin. I'm 100% sure that has nothing to do, but you're saying that because you're not on the show tonight. So, yeah. Transplant Texans said Alabama doesn't complain about strength of schedule and only losing programs complain about their strength of schedule.
Last I checked, we weren't with a losing program last year.
Sure you weren't, Austin.
Oh, man.
But with that, we'll get ready to wrap up here. Anything you got before we get out of here? Hobbs, big softball and baseball games coming up this weekend.
Yeah, just another thing where I just want to remind folks that losing a series this weekend is actually not the worst thing in the world. Doesn't move the needle at all. Winning is not everything all the time. So just make sure we continue to swing the bat well, have good at-bats, pitch well, and stay out of injury risk. So it's going to be a weird weekend. I got a feeling looking at the forecast. So let's just get back home against Tennessee next weekend. Hopefully come out of there with at least 2 wins. So, now if we get swept, that's a different story. You don't want to ever have that happen. So, but hopefully we just continue to play well.
True. So quick update for you guys. The initial injury report came out for the games this weekend. Nolan Souza out. We know that. Gabe Frazier out once again. And Carson Wiggins out. So no Parker Coyle on the injury report. No Logan Maxwell on the injury report. So two key guys that we get back in the lineup this weekend. So you'll probably see an interchangeable Carson Bowles and Maxwell in the right field. And then some more big country at first base, maybe a game with Pepe for a little bit. Who knows? Reese Robinette, I think, deserves that playing time with what he's done so far. Some Coles at second base since you're still missing Frazier. So I'm ready for it. It's going to be a great weekend. Both softball, baseball. Love what these teams are doing. Ready for selection show for softball. And before we get out of here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to hit that bell so you don't miss any time we go live. We appreciate all the support, all the likes, all the follows. It helps us tremendously. You can find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, even Blue Sky. I know it got popular for a minute, but not as much right now, but we're still on it. So go check us out across all those platforms, and we're going to get out of here. We'll see you on Sunday, hopefully talking about some fun recapping Arkansas sports over the weekend. And so everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you on Sunday afternoon for the next Razor recap.